No. Hi. Okay, and do we have cards? Or, oh, here we go. Commissioner Weiss, could I ask you to please run the cards?
Perfect. Get on there.
How many?
All right. Please forgive me if I mispronounce your names. We have multiple lecterns, so I'm going to call, let's call 6 names at a time. That means 3 people can line up at each lectern, and so we'll help to expedite our opportunity to hear from everybody. So we'll start with John Segovia, Saul Faso, looks like Kevin Sullivan, Rachel Smith, and Eric Appel, or Appel.
And we're going to give everyone 3 minutes, so go ahead.
All right. Good afternoon. My name is John Segovia, and I'm the Education and Safety Representative for Sunshine 811, Florida's nonprofit organization that the state law requires you to contact before beginning any digging project. Mayor and members of the commission, thank you for the opportunity to speak today. April is National Safe Digging Month, and it's an important time for the excavation industry, our partners in local government, and for communities across Florida. Safe digging may not always be top of mind, but it's never been more important. Florida ranks among the nation's leader in construction activity, and as digging increases, so do the risks to utility damages, service outages, accidents, and injuries. And that's where Sunshine 811 comes in. When excavators plan a project, they contact us, and we notify our member utilities so they can mark their underground lines. And this is all done through a toll-free number and an online 24/7 system. Last year alone, we handled more than 2.2 million tickets. That's one of the nation's highest. Across the state, there's nearly 1 million miles of underground utilities, and those lines are struck 87 times per day. These are lifelines that power our homes, deliver water, fuel our communities, and keep us connected. So protecting them is critical, especially here in Palm Beach County, which ranks among the top areas for underground utility damage. So Sunshine 811 provides education on safe digging and 811. But education alone isn't enough to reduce the risk. Enforcement of the safe digging law is also key, and that's where local partnerships matter. Stronger enforcement improves public safety, holds violators accountable, and helps to prevent accidents before they happen. So we do welcome an opportunity to work more closely with your code and law enforcement teams to support these efforts. So during this month of April, we're increasing outreach to contractors, homeowners, utilities, and communities across the state. And we appreciate you helping spread the simple message of notify 811 before you dig. So thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, and thank you for the opportunity to present to you today. My name is Sal Faso. I'm the president of the North County Neighborhood Coalition. We represent 24 communities and 66,000 residents in Palm Beach County. I'm not really here in that capacity today. We had a meeting on February the 12th, and every community that was west of the Beeline and east of Coconut along North Lake Boulevard was represented at this meeting. There were no elected officials, so we had no issue in Sunshine. We could talk about anything we wanted to talk about at that meeting. It was all residents. We had the state of Florida through the Caradino group. We had West Palm Beach represented, but not elected officials, staff people, engineers, and the Palm Beach Gardens represented as well. And our objective in that meeting was to talk about ways to alleviate the traffic congestion on North Lake Boulevard. FDOT had done a study for us, and they showed us the peak hours of morning and afternoon and when the traffic really is congested. There's 60,000 cars a day going up and down North Lake Boulevard. Okay, so no matter where you go on North Lake, you got to be cognizant of what's happening. So we were looking for ideas that could be done and implemented in a short period of time as opposed to many years or decades out there. Sad to report, only one idea came up which I'm going to talk to you about in a little bit. The residents have already started to adjust their times out of the house. So you have doctors and lawyers who have establishments east of the Beeline. They're opening their doors earlier. They're making appointments earlier in the day. The residents are not coming out on the road at 8:30 in the morning because they know they're going to be hung up. It's a 3-mile joint from basically the traffic light at Ibis all the way to North Lake Boulevard. It's taking them 45 minutes. That's absurd to kind of do that. But no idea was a bad idea. So we accumulated them all, and we boiled it down to 2, basically. One was to have the residents learn about where the times of peak are and where the times are not, and have them, if they could cooperate, and adjust for their period of travel on the road. And they're doing that. A lot of them are abiding by that suggestion. They're frustrated, but a lot of them are doing that. The other one, David Ricks was represented. I don't know if Joanne Keller is here.
She's in the
I
back.
spoke with David earlier. He said Joanne was at the meeting and she would be here today. But we talked about, where is she? There she is. Okay, I got you. Apparently, in the plan, the county plan, there is now approval for design and engineering to widen North Lake Boulevard from the State Road 7 intersection to the B-line. Not construction money, just design and engineering. We are requesting you to consider strongly putting construction money into the plan so that we could widen North Lake Boulevard from where State Road 7 comes into North Lake Boulevard east to the B-line, okay? Now, it's a tough intersection, and I remember, and I was trying to find George Webb. I saw his presentation the other night that I happened to have on my computer, and the bottom line is that's a very tough intersection. So with 60,000 cars a day today, we don't expect that to decrease. We have a volume problem. Just would request you put the money in the plan. Thank you.
Thank you.
Stay with the permit environmental requirements, though.
I am here today to express my disappointment as a Florida resident
Can
and
you
as a
state your
Palestinian.
name, sir? Please state your name for the record.
I'm on the card as E. Elias.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
I'm here today to express my disappointment as a Florida resident and as a Palestinian about the Palm Beach County's $1 billion investment in Israel bonds. This investment violates key statutes governing public finance and funds human rights violations. Over 76,000 Palestinians have been murdered. Over 80% of Gaza's population has been displaced. I'm going to read that again. Over 80% of Gaza's population has been displaced. What more will it take for this body of commissioners to act? I ask you to consider your legacy. Do you want to be remembered as leaders who fed a genocide or as leaders who stood up to end it? While we sit here safely, people in Gaza are being bombed, starved, displaced, and worse. I urge you not to let these crimes be associated with your names. Future generation will remember what you do today. This is your chance to make a difference. I demand that the Palm Beaches County Commissioners pass an ordinance prohibiting investments of public funds in entities engaging in genocide and/or occupation. 2, better fund local needs that will simultaneously generate more revenue for the county while servicing social needs, rather than seeking to make revenue gains off immoral and financially poor investments like Israel bonds. And 3, remove Norman Taplin from the Investment Policy Committee. We demand that the Comptroller of Palm Beaches County, 1, stops investments in Israel bonds, and 2, stop making investments that directly violate local and state laws. Do not let our community be bankrolled by bloodshed. Please align our investments with our conscience. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Kevin. I've lived in the West Palm Beach area for over 20 years. When I first heard about Palm Beach County being the largest investor in Israel bonds in the country, I wondered why more municipalities weren't taking a similar approach. After doing some research, it becomes clear why it's not being replicated. One insight came from Professor Justin Marlowe. He's the director of the University of Chicago Center for Municipal Finance. He said, "I'm not aware of any other jurisdiction in the country that has over 15% of their holdings in one type of investment. It represents a much greater concentration of risk in a portfolio for a public entity than I've seen in a long time." And then there's the actual Israel bond prospectus. Incredibly, the risk factors segment of it totals 8 pages. Here's part of the first paragraph. Investing in the bonds involves certain risks. Israel may become unable to pay interest, principal, or other amounts, or on in connection with the bonds for any number of reasons. Factors which Israel currently views as material for assessing the risk of investing in the bonds are described below. However, additional risks that are not currently known to Israel or that it currently deems immaterial may arise or become material, and accordingly, Israel does not represent that the statements below regarding the risks of investing in the bonds are exhaustive. The materialization of any such known or unknown risk could, individually or cumulatively, have a material adverse effect on Israel's ability to make payments on the bonds, in which case you could lose all or part of your investment. Beyond all these red flags, Florida law explicitly prohibits municipalities from investing public money for any social or political reason, which is precisely what Palm Beach County has done with its Israel bonds. And here's perhaps the most disturbing aspect of the county's perplexing leap into Israel bonds. In December 2023, the Israel bonds entity created a new government, industry, and financial services leadership group consisting of treasurers and elected officials from several states, including Palm Beach County Clerk and Comptroller Joseph Abruzzo. He's the person who's orchestrated the bulk of the county's investments. One of the organizers of the group was Norman Taplin, the Israel Bonds Palm Beach Advisory County Chair. Recently, Mr. Taplin was appointed to the Palm Beach County Investment Policy Committee that advises the County Commission. This happened even after Taplin disclosed during his approval review that he serves on the National Cabinet of Israel Bonds and is past chairman of Palm Beach County State of Israel Bonds organization. Frankly, this type of activity conjures up names of previous county officials like McCarty, Coons, Mazzalotti, and Newell. Commissioners, there's a reason why the adage, as you sow, so shall you reap, has endured since biblical times. For your sake, I hope you recognize it.
Good afternoon. My name is Eric Appel. I'm a lifelong resident in Palm Beach County. I'm here to address Project Tango, the AI data center. Let's start off with the energy uses of AI data centers. They're pretty substantial. They consume large amounts of electricity, and these levels are expected to increase as AI workloads grow. It is only going to consume more electricity. And now that Project Tango is not going to have backup generators as proposed, they have lithium-ion batteries. The impacts regarding lithium-ion batteries is a risk of fire. And enough to say that no to Project Tango being so close to a school and a neighborhood. The fire emits dangerous gases and are impossible to put out. They're a chemical reaction fire. Today's fire extinguishers and fire suppressant systems cannot put out the fires, only manage the fire to the batteries. Due to the thermal runaway process of the batteries, they can burn for hours, even days. Due to the amount of power this facility will need, it could have hundreds of thousands or even millions of these potential fire and health risk batteries. With the water consumption that this center is going to use, it will use millions of gallons just to keep it up to operating temperature. Investigative reports have shown that the water usage rarely disclosed and often occurs in regions where underground water and groundwater supply are already under strain, such as Arden and the surrounding areas. The closed-loop systems that are proposed to be used are not as user-friendly as it sounds. It takes millions of gallons to fill the system, needs maintenance, such as removing all water and disposing, refilling the system again. Closed-loop systems use coolant and other forever chemicals. The contaminated water will be disposed of either on site with deep well injection or removed from site, and will probably be deep well injected somewhere else. This is very concerning. As far as zoning and permitting, make no mistake, Project Tango is going to be a large-scale industry facility. It is currently zoned as lightweight industrial. What they have proposed to build back in 2026 is not the industrial of 10 years ago, past. Since their permits have changed, their idea has changed drastically. If they get the okay to build, that they're proposing, it will only grow in size, and the people in the neighborhoods will feel the impact of this monstrosity. Thank you.
Thank you. Before our next speaker, let me call up Santiago Zio, Christine DeSutter, Rose P., Krishna Madan, Nihaya Aktana, and looks like Marie, 3411 private residence.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. My name is Rachel Smith, and I'm here once more to voice my concerns about Project Tango and to talk about zoning. Project Tango is zoned for light industrial use. This hyperscale AI data center project needs to be rezoned under heavy industrial use, as well as future AI data center projects, bless you. I would like to reiterate that traditional data centers and hyperscale AI data centers are not the same thing. I ask that you do your due diligence and research the differences between the two, as it is an extremely important distinction. Currently, in multiple states across the country, there are communities fighting to get AI data centers rezoned under heavy industrial use, because that's what they are. According to the PBC ULDC, a facility engaged in manufacturing and/or processing that causes or results in the dissemination of dust, smoke, fumes, odor, noise, vibration, light, or other potentially objectionable effects beyond the properties of the lot on which the use is conducted shall be considered a heavy industry use. That definition is so clear that I'm not sure why we're even having this argument. This hyperscale AI data center will check off 4, potentially 5 of those 8 offenses: noise, vibration, light, and potentially objectionable effects beyond the property, not to mention potential fumes from generators that may or may not exist. These projects are so new that the county codes don't have the language to accurately describe them, so they get pushed into the category of light industrial data and information processing, which this project is not. The codes need to be updated to reflect that hyperscale AI data centers are heavy industrial use. During a site tour 2 weeks ago, it was revealed that there will be 2 90-foot buildings. I was told that by the developers. It was also revealed that between the 5 data center buildings that are proposed, there will be 654 fans on top as part of the cooling process. I want you all to picture that for a second. 654 fans, 2,000 feet away from an elementary school in a neighborhood running 24/7. The developers can provide their sound studies, but in my opinion, there is absolutely no way that this is not going to be a noisy, vibrating, offensive beast. That is why it needs to be rezoned. These behemoths are not light industrial use. Across the country, communities are pushing back against the development of these hyperscale AI data centers because they're being rushed, built irresponsibly, and negatively affecting the lives of residents. Tomorrow, the state of Maine will vote on a 12-month moratorium to halt the development of AI data centers. It's not just residents of Palm Beach County. Residents everywhere are waking up to the dangers that these hyperscale AI data centers pose, as well as the need for necessary safeguards surrounding how and where they can be developed. Do you guys think people all over the country are pushing back against this because we're bored? We are all human beings trying to just live our busy lives and get our elected officials to protect us, our families, and our well-being. Again, we do not want a 2 million square foot AI data center built directly next to an elementary school and neighborhood. This is an unacceptable precedent for Palm Beach County to set. You can look us in the eyes and tell us that you'd be okay with your family living next to this, but we all know the truth. Right now, this is taking place in District 6, but this is going to affect all of you when the next greedy developer decides to build another one, so you can do your part, stop it now, and set the safeguards in place. Thank you for your time.
There's plenty of other people that wish to speak. I'd ask you to keep to 3 minutes.
Next.
Hi, Commissioners. My name is Santiago Latancio. I've met a couple of you previously. I'm here to talk about Project Tango as well. Given that the decision was postponed until July, I wanted to give you a couple of updates. Rachel mentioned a couple of them already. But we did get some additional information on the magnitude of the project. It has now been disclosed by the developer. It's a 600 megawatt data center, making it one of the single largest data centers in the United States and the largest in Florida. 265 chillers of 3,200 ton capacity. Just to give you a perspective, your air conditioner at home is 5 tons. These are 3,200 tons each, 265 of them. There's 795 high performance fans. They're usually 33 feet in diameter, matching a small helicopter rotor. These are usually put on top of the buildings, which the developer confirmed. Their plan, as communicated by them, is a 70-foot building with a 20 to 30 foot cooling structure on top of the building, totaling to 90 to 100 feet from what the original plan was of 35 feet. The developer also has no plan on scale. They're only worried about their end goal, which is the sale of the project to the end consumer. So they have no plan right now on how to restrict scaling over the next 5, 10, or 20 years. Given that AI architecture usually doubles every 5 years from a capacity standpoint or capability standpoint, you could see a data center that starts at 600 megawatts but could transform into a 1 gigawatt plus facility within the same footprint. None of their calculations include the noise that is being produced currently by the FPL power facility. None of their studies have been done into the lithium batteries, which they also verbally communicated to us. They're no longer looking into diesel or natural gas generators. They're looking into containerized lithium batteries, which if you look up the different data center cases in South Korea, there's multiple of them that burn for 22 hours. Releasing sulfite gases which cause asthma just with one breath. Last thing, since I know some of you are very interested in water, I encourage you to look at the Amazon Oregon lawsuit. Amazon was found guilty of contaminating with nitrates the groundwater, which is a byproduct of the cooling system that they were using at their data center. Again, I appreciate your time listening to me. And we will keep you updated of any other facts that we get. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Nihaya Achana. I am outside of living in Palestine. I am a lifelong resident of Palm Beach County. For the record, I'm also with the people here against Project Tango. But anyway, my faith in this commission's willingness to listen to its constituents is eroding. The board's actions continue to disregard these laws regulating public investments, which are created to protect every taxpayer. You are elected to represent us, but you are instead representing the interest of another country and their political agenda. Every time you dismiss public laws and regulations to increase investments in Israel bonds, you deepen the cynicism residents feel about their local government and how people around the world feel about Palm Beach County. You are not just making a poor policy decision on not funding local needs, but investing in a foreign entity. You are actively damaging the social contract in Palm Beach County. Last time I was here, I asked you not to force me to use my tax dollars to enforce a genocide against my own people. Yet, we continue to do that. So I am going to use the only tool I have available, and that's going to be my voice to continue to name the victims of the crimes that we indirectly or directly fund. A recent UN report states that more than 18,500 Palestinians have been detained, many without charge, including at least 1,500 children. Detainees have been abused in unfathomable ways, including but not limited to rape with bottles, metal rods, knives. This is separate of other testimonies from released hostages that say Israeli soldiers raped men, women, and children. This was publicly celebrated within Israeli society, and it has become their organized state policy. They have also trained their dogs to rape hostages. They are starved, spat on, tortured, burned, and urinated on. Last month, a 17-year-old, Walid Ahmed, was starved to death in detention. He was never charged with a crime, yet Israel still holds his body for leverage. Oftentimes, they will hold the corpses of their hostages as tools to torment family and making them carry out their sentences, even in death. Multiple reports are available at your disposal to see how often children are sniped at. In March, a 13-year-old, Khalid Saif Arada, was murdered by a direct sniper, killing him instantly in his tent. Last month, an 18-month-old, a baby, Jawad Abu Nasser, was tortured as a tool to force a fake confession from his father. They burned him with cigarettes and stabbed him. There are pictures of this. There's video evidence of this. These are drops in the bucket, and I ask you to reach into your hearts and understand that we cannot continue funding these atrocities.
We're not gonna have any applause today. Just, we're here to listen. Thank you.
Right. Oh. My name is Rose, and I'm a Palm Beach County resident speaking today about the county's investment in $1 billion in Israeli bonds. I'm here because I want you to fully recognize the financial risk you're placing on the community here. Your primary responsibility is to protect taxpayer money through careful, lawful, and risk-conscious investment decisions. This investment does not meet this standard. Public investment guidelines exist to limit financial exposure to unnecessary risk. Yet here, those limits have not only been tested, they have been repeatedly expanded. You're concentrating our public funds in a country currently engaged in war crimes and also facing internal instability. If this investment underperforms or is downgraded, the consequences will fall on the residents of Palm Beach County, and not you. Here is a clear example. First, only 5% of public funds could be invested in Israel bonds. Then it was increased to 10%. Then the comptroller violated the 10% requirement in February of 2024, and shortly after, the commission unanimously allowed it to be increased to 15%. The limit is now at 18%. It is difficult to justify allocating this much money to a foreign entity instead of investing it here at home. This is not simply an investment disagreement. It is a question of your duty, your accountability, and the real risk you are putting us all in. And when residents here raise consistent concerns but see no change at all in the direction you're going, that trust in you and our public institutions is eroded in a way that is difficult to rebuild. I demand that Palm Beach County commissioners pass an ordinance prohibiting investments of public funds in entities engaging in genocide or occupation. Better fund local needs that will simultaneously generate more revenue for the county while servicing social needs, rather than seeking to make revenue gains off of immoral and financially poor investments like Israel bonds. And remove Norman Taplin from the Investment Policy Committee. We demand that the comptroller of Palm Beach County stop investments in Israeli bonds and stop making investments that directly violate local and state laws. Public funds are a type of public trust, and I demand that this trust shows consistency and accountability. Our democracy requires you, all of you, to hear us. So start now. Thank you.
Excuse me, sir, hold on. I would like to ask the two gentlemen if you would mind keeping your cameras in the back of the room with the other cameras and not in the walkway. Thank you.
My time?
Oh, we'll start your time over. There you go.
Good afternoon. My name is Krishna Madan, a retired history teacher in Deerfield Beach. And no, I'm not a carpetbagger. I service my car 7 minutes from here. I shop in Boca. I go to dance classes from Boynton to Boca. I patronize Tim Finnegan's, Crazy Uncle Mike's. So my personal interests are intimately tied up with the continued financial health of Palm Beach County. And that financial health is threatened by your risky investment in Israeli bonds. Last month, you trotted out statistics. Last month, you said that you would give more weight to the opinions of Palm Beach residents. That would be appropriate if your decision is about personal aesthetic, like deciding whether to paint City Hall green or purple. The issue of Israeli bonds, however, impacts the continued financial health of Palm Beach County. Last month, defenders of the bonds trotted out numbers showing the amounts Israeli bonds were paying. Yes, they pay well. They pay well precisely because they are risky. Risky investments have to pay more to attract investors because they are risky. If someone outside your home shouts fire, are you going to ignore the warning because the person shouting is from another county? Israeli bonds are risky precisely because Israel continues to light the fires of war across the Middle East. Right now, the U.S. is at war with Iran because Israel has dragged the U.S. into a war with Iran. Your purchase of Israeli bonds has enabled Israel to wage that war and to drag the U.S. along with it. But this war with Iran renders our investment in Israeli bonds even more risky. After 6 weeks, it should be evident that this is a war Israel cannot win. This war will degrade the Israeli economy, which has already happened. And that will render our investment in Israeli bonds even more risky. Do the right thing for the people of Palm Beach and for the Middle East. Divest from Israeli bonds. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Mari, and I'm a Palm Beach County native. I've been here all my life. I stand here before the County Commission today to express my concern about Palm Beach County's investment in Israel bonds as a concerned Palm Beach County constituent, and to voice my and my community's lack of faith in you as elected officials who are supposed to represent the interests of the community. The Commission's unwillingness to listen to the demands of Palm Beach County residents is contributing to the increasing distrust that we have in your ability to truly represent our interests as elected officials should. Palm Beach County property taxes are invested in $1 billion in Israel bonds, an entity linked to severe human rights abuses. These include funding of armed conflict where over 76,000 Palestinians have been murdered, environmental pollution with the harm of bombs caused, and the displacement of communities not only in Palestine but now in southern Lebanon as well. The laws on investment in Florida are clear. Only make responsible investments. Do not invest in sovereign bonds if the credit rating is below AA, and do not invest more than a certain percentage of taxpayer dollars in Israel bonds. Every time you dismiss public laws and regulations to increase investments in Israel bonds, you deepen the cynicism residents feel about their local government and how people around the world feel about Palm Beach County. You are not just making a poor policy decision on not funding local needs, but investing in a foreign entity. You are actively damaging the social contract in Palm Beach County. Our growing distrust is a result of you not listening. I urge you to reverse course on this issue, establish genuine avenues for resident input before decisions are made, and take tangible steps to rebuild the trust you have broken. I demand that the Palm Beach County Commissioners, number one, pass an ordinance prohibiting investments of public funds in entities engaging in genocide or occupation. 2, fund local needs that will generate more revenue for the county while servicing social needs, rather than seeking to make revenue gains off immoral and financially poor investments like Israel bonds. Number 3, remove Norman Taplin from the Investment Policy Committee as there is clearly a conflict of interest because he serves on the National Cabinet of Israel Bonds. He's on the National Campaign Advisory Council for Israel Bonds. We demand that the Comptroller of Palm Beach County, wherever he is, number 1, stop investments in Israel bonds, and number 2, stop making investments that directly violate local and state laws. Thank you.
Before our next speaker, I'd like to, let's see, we have Bob Horner, Les Gomez, Irika, Angel Cruz, Hector C., and Vance.
Ready? Go ahead. Hi, my name is Christine DeSutter. I'm a resident of Fox Trail out in Loxahatchee. I'd like to talk about Project Tango. There are unknown health effects of living in close proximity to a hyperscale AI data center. Reports of inability to sleep and/or concentration, dizziness, nausea, and in some cases, increased seizures and cardiac events. Are you willing to take the chance of one of these this on our children, our grandchildren, our residents? Have you done any research on, and seen what's happening across the country to residents who live near these places? Would you live near one if it came to your neighborhood, or would you be standing here talking against it? Infrasound is the sound that we can't hear. It's vibrational sound. It's below our level of hearing, but there are studies done on that and the long-term health effects on humans. Some of them are headaches, concentration difficulties, palpitations, and sleep problems. Infrasound can travel long distances, sometimes up to hundreds of kilometers, without significant loss of intensity. This is because it's not easily absorbed by the atmosphere or obstacles. Normal sound travels approximately 1,125 feet per second. So it would take less than 2 seconds for any sound from this data center to reach the school. And recently it was determined through a study that heat islands are caused by these data centers, and they raise the temperatures between 12 and 16 degrees Fahrenheit. Our last 2 summers, we've had prolonged 90 to 100 degree plus weather. Do we want to add another 12 to 16 degrees to that? Water temps will raise, and that'll cause algae blooms and problems for aquatic life. It's yet to be seen what's going to happen with our real estate values. Houses in my neighborhood are going on the market. They're having showings, but there's no offers made, and I think they're waiting to see what happens. Some of the showings have been canceled pending the outcome. And I'd like to know how this actually benefits Palm Beach County. How many local people will be employed? And will the construction be done by locals, or will it be brought in from out of state? I think that at the very least, we should deny the expansion now and set a moratorium until such time as there are studies done on the long-term health effects. And I have to write on both sides twice. But Florida is an environmentally sensitive state. And I find it kind of ironic that this morning that you consider approving this hyperscale data center when earlier today you made a proclamation declaring April 2026 as Dark Sky Awareness Month, declaring April 14th, 2026 as Agriculture Together We Grow Day, and declaring April 22nd as Earth Day. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Les Gomez. I am here as a Florida resident to oppose Palm Beach County's $1 billion Israel bonds investment and to express my immense lack of faith in you as elected officials. Florida's law on investments is clear. Only make prudent investments, do not invest in sovereign bonds if the credit rating is below AA, and do not invest more than a certain percentage of taxpayer dollars in Israel bonds. Despite laws meant to protect taxpayers, the board has ignored investment regulations for public funds to prioritize a foreign country's interests over those of local residents. The Palm Beach County Comptroller has consistently violated the limit on the percentage of public funds that can be invested in Israel bonds. At first, only 5% of public funds could be invested in Israel bonds. Later, that was increased to 10%. The Comptroller violated this 10% requirement in February of 2024, and shortly after, the Comptroller requested that the limit be increased to 15%. You, the whole County Commission, unanimously approved this increase. The limit now stands at 18%, an amount considered highly risky and irresponsible by municipal government experts. By dismissing public laws and regulations to increase Israel bond investments, you deepen residents' mistrust and cynicism towards their local government. I've said this before. It is manipulative to try to make the public believe that these financial investments and decisions are being made with our best interests in mind when you're consistently failing to prioritize local needs. We are watching your actions foster growing distrust, directly resulting from your failure to listen. Reverse course, create real opportunities for resident input, and take concrete steps to restore trust. To start, my demands are as follows. For Palm Beach County Commissioners, pass an ordinance prohibiting investments of public funds in entities engaging in genocide or occupation. Better fund local needs that will simultaneously generate more revenue for the county while servicing social needs, rather than seeking to make revenue gains off immoral and financially poor investments like Israel bonds. And lastly, remove Norman Taplin from the Investment Policy Committee. For the Comptroller of Palm Beach County, stop investing in Israel bonds and stop making investments that directly violate local and state laws. The public's trust depends on you to model a genuine, honest, and unwavering commitment to your community. Hear us now. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Vice Mayor, Commissioners, and community members. My name is Vance Aarons. I'm a native Floridian and former candidate for state senate, where I spent many hours discussing critical issues with my fellow Floridians. I am here today in strong opposition of using taxpayer money to support human rights violations. The investment of $1 billion in citizen money to support the extermination of more than 76,000 Palestinians, 20,000 are children, the continued attacks on Arab civilians in other sovereign nations, and now the ethnic application of the death penalty are policies inconsistent with the overwhelming views of our citizens. Let's get real here. Israel is using our money to commit genocide. Continued investment equates not only to complacency, but to outright support of it. I know many lawmakers get offended from strong speech and specific words like this. Still, when actions and policies of government officials reach this level of depravity, it is our right, nay, it is our duty to call them out and hold those officials accountable. Condemning the atrocities of a state is not reflective of the ethnicity of the population. And to quote the Holocaust Museum statement, never again can't only mean never again for Jews. If political egos get in the way of ethic arguments, let's mention the downgrading of Israel's credit rating, which is a violation, by continued investment, is a violation of Florida Statute 518.11 and the county's own policy of investment with care, skill, and diligence. To maintain that diligence, this body must immediately, 1, pass an ordinance prohibiting investments of public funds in entities engaging in genocide and occupation. 2, better fund local needs that simultaneously generate more revenue for the county while servicing social needs, rather than seeking to make revenue gains from immoral and financially poor investments like Israeli bonds. 3, remove Norman Taplin from the Investment Policy Committee. Thank you for your time and your pledge to divest from war criminals and colonizers.
My name is Angel Cruz. Thank you for taking the time to listen to your constituents today. I'm a Palm Beach County constituent. I'm a parent with a toddler at home. And every time I see a child pulled from the rubble after an Israeli bombing, I think about, if it can happen to children there, it can happen anywhere to my child. That is why I'm standing here, not as a politician, not as an activist, as a parent and a taxpayer. And as a person of faith who believes that silence in the face of injustice is its own kind of sin. My faith in this commission's willingness to listen to its constituents is eroding. I am furious, not disappointed. Furious, because you are taking our tax dollars and investing them in a country whose leaders are wanted by the International Criminal Court. Benjamin Netanyahu, Yoav Gallant, Israel Katz, internationally wanted war criminals. And this commission keeps writing them checks with our money, in violation of the very laws you swore to uphold. The law says prudent investments only. No sovereign bonds below AA, no more than a set percentage of public funds. You have broken every one of those guardrails. And every time you didn't stop, you raised the limit. It started at 5%, then 10%. You violated that. Then 15%, now it sits at 18%. A level municipal governance experts call highly risky and irresponsible. And every time you raised it, you did it unanimously. Every single one of you. It now sits at 18% while Israel's economy loses $3 billion every single week with their nonstop aggression. Their own central bank reports $57 billion lost since this war began. Debt at 70% of GDP. a country in financial freefall, and you are strapping Palm Beach County taxpayers to it. What are we funding? A country carrying out over 10,000 attacks in a single year. I call it a moral catastrophe. My child deserves better. This county deserves better. We are watching. God is watching. Do better.
Bob Horner, long-term Florida resident. As a parent or grandparent, one of the things we cherish is pulling up a blanket or a sheet and tucking our children or grandchildren in at night, giving them a kiss, then turning off the bedroom lights. As we do, we are all pretty much assured that we'll be reversing this process in the morning, hugging them, having breakfast with them as they start their day. I ask each of you to imagine what it would be like for a community of about 1.5 million people halfway around the world, sitting in an air-conditioned office approving millions and millions of dollars that would contribute to a nearby county or country bombing your children's home and murdering the citizens of Palm Beach County. You unfortunately might just find yourself wrapping up your children's body in the same cloth blanket that you put them to bed in and placing them in a grave. I ask each of you to think that why would a community halfway around the world want to inflict such gruesome hardship on you whom you don't even know? Is this because they don't know what they are supporting? Is it because it's easy and popular thing to do? Is it because they are so callous that they don't even care? Or is it the voters expect them to do this so they can remain in office, sitting in their comfortable leather chairs? This is exactly what the Palestinian people have had to endure ever since 1948. After the Holocaust during World War II, all sane people would say never again. Yet here we are again. I contend this this community of Palm Beach County is financially supporting yet again another Holocaust. I ask you to think about this the next time you tuck your children in at night. Then think about the next time you vote for another bond to Israel that is supporting today's undeniable Holocaust. And I ask whether this county's tax dollars should be better used to support humane, constructive, peaceful projects, or the demise of someone else halfway around the world that you don't even know, because this is exactly what you are doing. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. I'm Hector. Born and raised Florida resident, Palm Beach County resident as well. I am demanding the immediate end to Palm Beach County investment in Israel bonds, an investment that is illegal, financially reckless, and morally indefensible. This is a legal violation of Florida Statute 51811 and the county's own investment policy require public funds to be invested with care and diligence. The county invested in Israel bonds 3 days after war began, shortly which Israel received its first ever credit downgrade. These bonds also fail the county's own liquidity and diversification requirements. Florida Statute 218415 explicitly prohibits investing public funds for political reasons. These are not technicalities, these are the laws you swore to uphold. You have repeatedly changed the rules to cover up violations. When the 10% gap was exceeded, the limit was raised to 15%, then to 18% when violated again. The Investment Policy Committee was never convened when Israel's credit rating fell below the required threshold. This is not an oversight. This is a pattern. It is also an ethical failure. Palm Beach County taxpayer dollars are financing an entity linked to catastrophic and growing human toll. Tens of thousands of documented deaths, displaced communities, and widespread destruction. Our people's property taxes funds this. That makes this county financially complicit. I demand the board pass an ordinance prohibiting investments in entities engaged in genocide or occupation, and better fund local needs that will simultaneously generate more revenue for counties while servicing social needs, rather than seeking to make revenue gains off of immoral and financially poor investments like Israel bonds. I demand the comptroller immediately cease all Israel bonds investments and stop violating local and state law. You were elected to represent us, the people, not foreign financial interests. The law requires prudence, our community requires conscience, and it's not too late to do the right thing. Thank you for your time.
Before our next speaker, I'd like to call up Caroline, Layla H., Franklin Perez, Eduardo, I think last name looks like Israel, Ella Stewart, and Cassidy.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Erica. I am a lifelong South Florida resident, U.S. Citizen, and decent human being. And I'm expressing my grave concerns about Palm Beach County's investment in Israeli bonds. This investment violates public finance statutes and funds human rights violations. Palm Beach County taxes are invested in $1 billion worth of Israel bonds, an entity linked to severe human rights abuses. These includes funding of armed conflict, where millions have been murdered, increased environmental pollution caused by the usage of bombs, and the displacement of numerous families and communities. When we invest in these practices, Palm Beach County becomes financially complicit in the suffering of others, millions abroad, while neglecting the suffering of those right here at home in our backyards. We're leveraging the wealth of our community to fund the death and conflict abroad. And the wealth derived from these diverse and peaceful communities here are used to enable oppression elsewhere. This is a profound ethical failure. This county's values should be reflected in its portfolio. The Palm Beach County Commission vision states on your website that you will think strategically and anticipate the future to ensure that the decisions we make today will have lasting value. The Palm Beach County Commission mission statement says that you will drive a continuous improvement of culture of excellence that achieves a measurably high level of public satisfaction. The Palm Beach County unwavering commitment states that you will do the right thing for the right reason, acting on wisdom and fact without undue influence from any source. I hope that you all are following your mission, your values, and your unwavering commitment to Palm Beach County and its residents. I demand that the Palm Beach County Commissioners pass ordinance prohibiting investments of public funds in entities that engage in genocide, occupation, and war. We demand that you fund local needs that will simultaneously generate more revenue for the county while still servicing social needs, rather than seeking to make revenue gains off of immoral and financially poor investments like Israeli bonds. We also demand that you remove Norman Taplin from the Investment Policy Committee. We also demand that the comptroller of Palm Beach County, who is also not here again, to stop investing in Israeli bonds. As elected representatives, align our investments with our conscience and make sure that your decisions are made with the will of the people. Thank you.
My name is Franklin Perez. My address is on file. I'm here to speak about Palm Beach County's investments in Israeli bonds. I demand you rescind all pro-Israel resolutions and stop buying Israeli government bonds. Why? Because reputable human rights organizations, Amnesty International, Human Rights Watch, and B'Tselem, have documented that Israel is a Jewish supremacist apartheid state that has committed ethnic cleansing, genocide, and human rights abuses against Palestinians for 78 plus years. And now Israel is on trial at The Hague for genocide of 186,000 plus Palestinians in Gaza. The same Israeli leaders, Netanyahu and Gallant, have used genocidal and dehumanizing language against Palestinians, such as referring to Palestinians in the Gaza concentration camp as human animals. Both have arrest warrants from the International Criminal Court for war crimes. Palm Beach County has no business investing taxpayer dollars in bonds issued by a government accused of genocide and apartheid. This is not just a moral failure, it is a liability. It exposes the county to reputational, legal, and financial risk. Our tax dollars should go back into our own communities, not to support what a former Israeli pilot calls a terrorist organization run by war criminals. I demand you, 1, pass an ordinance prohibiting investments of public funds in entities engaging in genocide or military occupations. 2, better fund local needs through the budget appropriations process that will generate comparable long-term revenue for the county that these risky investments, such as Israeli bonds. 3, remove Norman Taplin from the Investment Policy Committee. 4, stop investments in Israeli bonds. And 5, stop making investments that directly violate local and state laws. Miko Peled, Israeli Jew, son of a famous Israeli Jew general, ex-Zionist occupation forces enforcer, and Palestinian rights activist, has stated that the Israeli army is the best terrorist group in the world. The refrain that Israel has the right to self-defense is a red herring. The real question is, does Israel have the right to use force to maintain an illegal occupation and apartheid state that commits ethnic cleansing, genocide, and human rights abuses against Palestinians? The clear answer is no. Under international law, Israel has no right of self-defense when it is the oppressor and occupier, while Palestinians do have the right to physically resist and defend themselves against their oppressor and occupier, the Israeli apartheid regime. Stop supporting Israel. Stop giving it weapons. Stop giving it money, and condemn it for what it is, an apartheid and genocidal state that has murdered 186,000 plus Palestinians in Gaza. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Caroline, and I'm a proud Florida resident. It's more of a love-hate relationship because of the humidity. But I come before you today with a deep sense of urgency, and I'll be honest, a growing concern about the direction of Palm Beach County's leadership. Our investments in Israel bonds are a triple failure: a failure to follow the law, a failure to protect taxpayer dollars, and a failure of ethical leadership. First, the law. Florida statutes 518.11 and 218.415 require you to invest public funds with care and without political motives. Yet you invested in Israel bonds just days after a war began, right before a historic credit downgrade. That is not diligence, that is recklessness. Your own policy limited Israel bonds to 10% of public funds. When the comptroller reached 12%, you didn't reduce the investment. You changed the policy to allow 15%, and then again to allow 18%. You changed the rules to fit the investment rather than managing the investment to fit the rules. That is a breach of fiduciary duty. Second, an ethical crisis. We are investing Palm Beach County property taxes generated by our diverse, peaceful neighborhoods in a foreign entity linked to the deaths of over 76,000 people. We are leveraging our community's prosperity to fund human suffering. That makes us financially complicit. Every time you dismiss our concerns to deepen this investment, you erode the public trust. You are damaging the social contract between elected officials and the people of Florida. We are watching. To rebuild the trust you have broken, I demand action. I demand that the Palm Beach County Commissioners pass an ordinance prohibiting investments of public funds in entities engaging in genocide or military occupations, better fund in local needs through budget appropriations process that will generate comparable long-term revenue for the county than risky investments such as Israel bonds, remove Norman Taplin from the Investment Policy Committee, stop investments in Israel bonds, and stop making investments that directly violate local and state laws. I just want you to leave you with Hind Rajab's last word. She was a Palestinian 6-year-old child killed by the Israeli army, 355 bullets. I'm so scared, please come and take me, please. After that, she couldn't talk because she had blood in her mouth, and then so she couldn't talk anymore, and she died. Thank you.
I'm Layla. My mom and I are both Palm Beach County residents. Last night, while discussing this forum, she innocuously asked me, "Are they required to listen to you?" I didn't know how to respond. So I said, "I guess they're required to let us speak." But if we instead take the word listen to mean carefully consider, then I would think in a democracy, there would be a requirement that public officials carefully consider the comments or demands of their constituents. I don't have serious reason to believe that they will. Development Corporation for Israel is the official name of Israel Bonds, an organization which describes itself on its website as, quote, the exclusive underwriter of debt securities issued by the State of Israel in the United States, unquote. These bonds are a fundamental pillar of the financial system in the State of Israel, enabling the state to both provide social services to its citizens and commit expensive atrocities across the entirety of West Asia, including multiple manifestations of genocide in Palestine, and now the carpet bombing and ethnic cleansing of Shia Muslims in South Lebanon. Our county's government has special laws specifically designating the maximum percentage of our tax dollars that can be invested directly into this organization, and that percentage is steadily increasing from 5% to 10% to 15% to now a whopping 18% of our taxes. And sometimes, like in February 2024, that pesky double-digit percentage maximum gets in the way. They couldn't rewrite the laws fast enough, so the comptroller just disregarded them, increased investments, and later the committee took a unanimous vote to update the percentage to match the amount that had already been illegally invested. The National Campaign Advisory Committee of the Development Corporation for Israel, whose sole purpose is to secure American investment in Israel, includes Norman Taplin, a man who also serves on Palm Beach County's Investment Policy Committee. Given this, I don't see much reason to believe that any of the following demands would be carefully considered, but I will make them anyway for the record and for posterity. As a resident of the county, I demand that Palm Beach County Commissioners pass an ordinance prohibiting investments of public funds in entities engaging in genocide or occupation, better fund local needs that will simultaneously generate more revenue for the county while servicing social needs rather than seeking to make revenue gains off of moral and financially poor investments like Israel bonds, and remove Norman Taplin from the Investment Policy Committee. We demand that the Comptroller of Palm Beach County stop investments in Israel bonds and stop making investments that directly violate local and state laws. Are they required to listen to you? I think your constituents are beginning to ask themselves the more relevant question: do you think they will ignore us, even if they're required not to?
Good afternoon. Thank you for listening to your constituents. My name is Eduardo Semerg Israel. As you can hear, my last name has the word Israel, and I'm well acquainted with Jewish history from before the destruction of the temple, past the temple, the Holy Inquisition, and the Holocaust. And the reason that I am here today is because of Karim Abu Nasser. According to family members, local journalists, and medical reports from Al-Qasa Hospital, the toddler was held for 10 hours and returned with cigarette burns on his legs and punctured wounds consistent with being pricked by a nail. And there's many other things. And I come to you as a parent. I have a 2-year-old. And I surely know that, that we have some kind of morality, that we're not gonna take money and continue to support genocide, support child abuse, because this is child abuse. I know that there's some morality in us. I know there's some Americanism in us, right? Life, liberty, pursuit of happiness. I know it, right? Please do not let your constituents down. Please stop it. I know you can do it. If we could do it, we would probably be sitting over there on that side. But I still believe that there's some morality in you and that you can do this. Please. Use public funds in a manner that flouts legal and fiduciary standards is unacceptable. I demand the Palm Beach County Commissioners, 1, pass an ordinance prohibiting investments of public funds in entities engaging in genocide or occupation. 2, better fund local needs, mental health, housing. You guys know all the needs that we have, that will simultaneously generate more revenue for the county while servicing social needs, rather than seeking to make revenue gains of immoral and financially poor investments like Israel bonds. And 3, remove Norman Taplin from the Investment Policy Committee. We demand that the Comptroller of Palm Beach County, 1, stop investment in Israel bonds, and 2, stop making investments that directly violate local and state laws. The public's trust depends on your adherence to the law. Thank you.
Hello, Commissioners. My name is Ella Stewart. I am here to express my immense concern about Palm Beach County's investment in Israel bonds as a concerned Palm Beach County resident. This investment violates key statutes designed to protect taxpayer dollars. Florida Statute 51811, as well as the Palm Beach County investment policy, mandates that public funds be invested with care, skill, and diligence. Just 3 days after war began in October 2023, Palm Beach County decided to invest on the side of Israel. These bonds no longer hold up to the credit ratings, liquidity, or diversification requirements of Palm Beach County's own investment policy. So I am forced to wonder, did this county really need to invest so hastily, or did Israel just really need the money? These investments also violate Florida Statute 218-415, which prohibits investing public funds for political reasons. Rushing to break state and local policy to make a bad investment in an apartheid state that is committing a genocide is undoubtedly a gross misuse of public funds for political purposes. It is no secret that Israel uses my taxpayer dollars to enact a genocide against the Palestinian people. The human rights abuses coming out of Israel are horrific. Just a few weeks ago, we learned that Israel's army tortured a baby by burning cigarettes on their legs to get a fake confession from the infant's father. This is an absolutely appalling legacy carved by the misappropriation of my tax dollars, and I'm urging you all to make this right by adhering to the following demands. A demand that the Palm Beach County Commissioners, 1, pass an ordinance prohibiting investments of public funds in entities engaging in genocide or occupation. 2, better fund local needs that will simultaneously generate more revenue for the county while servicing social needs, rather than seeking to make revenue gains off of immoral and financially poor investments like Israel bonds. And 3, remove Norman Taplin from the Investment Policy Committee. We demand that the Comptroller of Palm Beach County, 1, stop investments in Israel bonds, and 2, stop making investments that directly violate local and state laws. The public's trust depends on your adherence to the law. Thank you.
So Cassidy, Thaler, Anastasia B., Kathy, Kathleen P., Alice Wujak, and Valentina Jadre. Anybody? Anyone?
Hello, my name is Caitlin P. Lakeworth. Just before I start what I prepared, I just want to say, I took the afternoon off of work to come here and take advantage of this opportunity to speak to my elected officials. And I just think when your government officials have to leave the room, when there's obviously, a lot of people here with something to say, you have a corruption problem. So I'm here today to voice my concern, like my friends here, about Palm Beach County's investment in Israel bonds. And after all of these attempts to express our community's disapproval, I too am truly beginning to lose faith in you all as our elected officials and accountable officials. The investment laws are not unclear, they're very clear. You're only to make responsible investments. Do not invest in sovereign bonds if the credit rating is below AA, and do not invest in more than a certain percentage of taxpayer dollars in Israel bonds. And still, you continue to disregard these laws, not once, but again and again, in one case. You kind of try and muddy the water a little bit, so it looks like you haven't after the fact. At first, 5% of public funds could be invested in Israel bonds. It was increased to 10%. After violating this 10%, then the comptroller requests to increase the limit to 15%. You allowed that unanimously. Now it's 18%, which city and county governance experts, as others have commented on, have deemed reckless and irresponsible. Every time you dismiss these laws and regulations to increase investments, it's not just a poor policy decision, it's also putting a foreign government over our local needs. Needs like finding solutions for the dumpster fire that is the teacher contract in Palm Beach County. Pay for our public schools in general. Lots of things that you all know that we need in this county. We all are watching. There's people who are not in this room today that are watching. We're putting you all on notice as of today. This distrust is definitely growing, and it's a direct result of you not listening to what we have to say. Please reverse course on this very important issue. Create avenues for residents like us and people in our community to give you input before you make decisions like this. Start making real, tangible steps toward repairing this accountability. I have the same demands as people who've spoken before. Pass an ordinance prohibiting the use of public funds to invest in entities engaging in genocide and occupation. Better fund our local needs, like my son's public school and the teachers that serve him every day. These needs will generate more revenue for the county while helping people. Lots of investments that don't get sent to Israel that we can look at. Absolutely remove Norman Taplin. Terribly corrupt. Thank you.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak to you today. My name is Anastasia, and I'm here as a Florida resident and second-generation Florida native to express my deep concern about Palm Beach County's investment in Israel bonds, an investment which violates key statutes governing public finance investments that are designed to protect taxpayer dollars. All investments the county has made in Israel bonds violate Palm Beach County investments policy, as they do not meet the liquidity and diversification requirements. Florida Statute 518.11 mandates that public funds be invested with care, skill, and diligence. Palm Beach County's investments in Israel bonds between October 2023 and March 2024 violated this law. These investments are also in violation of Florida Statute 218.415, which requires that public funds cannot be invested for social or political reasons. Using public funds in a manner that mocks legal and fiduciary standards is unacceptable. I demand that the Palm Beach County Commissioners pass an ordinance that prohibits investments of public funds in entities engaging in genocide or occupation, fund local needs in ways that will generate more revenue for the county while providing for community needs, rather than seeking to make money off immoral and financially poor investments like Israel bonds. Remove Norman Taplin from the Investment Policy Committee for conflict of interest. We demand that the Comptroller of Palm Beach County stop investments in Israel bonds and stop making investments that directly violate local and state laws. Our trust depends on your adherence to the law. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Tyler C. Lake Worth. I want to let you know, first of all, that none of the people here enjoy speaking to you about these things. We are compelled to do so. Unlike you all, we did not run for office to sit up there and listen, and then instead spend time on our phones, twiddling our thumbs. It's despicable what you do with our county's money. And for individuals, know that you didn't just run those campaigns as yourselves. You ran with the help and support of your donors, the people who donated to your campaigns. You will recognize some of these names. United States Sugar Corporation out of Clewiston. Mark A. Perry out of Delray Beach. Victoria Leggett out of West Palm Beach. Lifetime Property LLC, Delray Beach. Andrew Grover out of Boca Raton. Gary Peters out of Boca Raton. Blaine O'Keen out of Delray Beach. Mark Corlew out of Boca Raton. The names go on and on and on. You don't just imperil yourselves and your future prospects by supporting this kind of genocide and apartheid government. You hurt the future prospects of the businesses who have supported you, the individuals who have supported you, and they will lose future opportunities if you do not act. These names are public. It's a matter of public record. Their businesses can be boycotted. Their future employment can be terminated. You know these people. They helped you. Look out for their interests by not continuing to invest in genocide. You are compelled to do so by the law, as people here have stated. You should be compelled to do so out of loyalty to the people who have helped you in the past. And if you don't, consequences will keep coming. Not just annoying conversations when you're on your way to your car, not annoying people here as you wish there was somewhere else you could be, but when your constituents, the people who have given you money, when they come calling saying, why didn't you act when you knew you threatened my good name? And that's what you do. You're threatening their good names.
I am Alice Wujak, a Palm Beach County constituent, and I thank you for giving me the opportunity to make my comments to you today. I'm here to express my serious concern as a Jewish county resident about Palm Beach County's investment in Israeli bonds. I fully understand why you would rush to support Israel after the October 7th attacks by increasing our investment in Israel bonds and continuing to acquire them. Presently, they account for a full $1 billion of Palm Beach County's investment money, with the possibility of buying more, up to 18% of our portfolio. In the meantime, however, Israel bonds rating has fallen below our usual investment criteria of AA rating. A decreased rating indicates pessimism about the likelihood that Israel will be able to meet its financial obligations, which is the ability to pay as promised at maturity. However much we wish to stand for Israel, it would be a shame to shortchange the county of precious funding because of the risk inherent in Israel's current bond issues. For these reasons, I urge you to stop purchasing Israel bonds.
Hi, everybody. My name is Valentina, and I'm here to share my concern on our continuous reinvestment in Israel bonds. In February, residents came before you to express concerns about investing in Israel bonds. On March 1st, you asked for a temporary increase to 18% to be able to reinvest. And what did you do? You reinvested. That disregard sends a clear message. Our voice does not matter. But today I want to offer a constructive path forward. Instead of reinvesting in Israel bonds this November, Comptroller Mike Caruso, put our money to work right here in Palm Beach County by investing in less risky and domestic bonds. And by 2, allocating the budget to fund local needs that long-term will generate way more revenue for the county than these very risky bonds. Here's the financial reality. There are many domestic bonds with way less risk that generate more of an investment return than Israel bonds. Why are these not invested in instead? Furthermore, when you invest in Israel bonds, you get a fixed interest payment with immense risk and nothing else. The principal investment leaves Palm Beach County. In addition, the county can generate more revenue by better funding our local needs. When you fund your water treatment plants, you generate revenue from every gallon sold. You avoid millions in emergency repairs and fines, and you leverage federal grant dollars. When you fund roads and bridges, you create construction jobs, reduce traffic costs for businesses, and help our local economy grow. When you fund affordable housing, you expand our property tax base and keep our workforce living here instead of commuting from hours away. Israel bonds give us one return. Local investments give us many returns. That's not politics, that's just basic finance. The question is not whether to invest. The question is whether you will invest in Israel or invest in Palm Beach County. This November, you have a choice. We're telling you from now on, months in advance, not only to the comptroller, to the investment policy committee, and to our commissioners that stand here. You have a choice. I demand that you stop all future investments in Israel bonds starting this November and instead direct those funds into local housing infrastructure and community development. Thank you.
And our last three speakers, Drew Martin, Karen Yeho, and Alex Larson. Anyone? Anyone? Alex? Karen?
Yes. My name is Karen Yeho, 1305 Via de Pepe, Palm Beach County. I'm respectfully request that Commissioner think about appropriate money for property title for scam, investigations, etc. I came here almost every month, request for money for investigation. Property title fraud scam. This is my inheritance house. It was stolen very easily by scammer. I have my quitclaim deed. My parents, Louis Hensey Ing, he passed away. Then my mother passed away. So on February 28, 2017, all three kids owns the property. The scammer came in and said, there's a judgment that cannot be found anywhere. Judgment erased my quitclaim deed to the three children. Proceed, all property title and escrow LLC. The sole owner of this LLC is committed both wrong. Selling the property for $315,000 when my father purchased for $336,589. $315,000 after in December 14, 2020, without my knowledge, consent, and signature. Then resold it for $565,000 when the property is owned, supposed to be over $600,000 in April 12, 2021. So that's only like 100 days, 160 days. Let's see, I did the calculation, 106 days. He's the sole owner, and that's something that I need you, Commissioner, please appropriate money for property title fraud scam. Civil, when I went to the law enforcement, all they did is telling me it's civil matter, civil matter. I say, no, it's criminal matter, because this is the title insurance fraud scam. It's going to cost us citizens more for title insurance if we keep this going. So mail fraud, instigate lawsuit, because I had to file a lawsuit to get my property back when I could just simply inherit the house. Thank you.
Thank you.
He called you. It's okay. That's right. Ladies first, please. Commissioners, it's always interesting to come down here. I've been doing this for 30 years, and what I see always amazes me, because I got into a tete-a-tete with a commissioner who told me that we could only buy Israeli bonds. And when I asked where that was in writing, then our tete-a-tete ended. Because they did. One of the commissioners said that. Because I think it is a controversial
Ms.
idea.
Larson,
Yes.
Please, I'm sorry, state your name for the record.
Alex Larson.
Thank you.
If anybody doesn't know by now, I'm so sad. But anyway, I do think that that's something that needs to be looked into. It really does. I think it needs to be looked into with a heavy hand, because I looked up something. I just wanted to see who gave good returns on bonds. And there was something called Pioneer Energy that does 9 to 13%, which is a little bit of bang for your buck more than 4%. So I was just thinking of it, I think we should do bonds where we get bang for our buck. It's, I want to put pennies in and get more pennies out. But hopefully you guys will come to a conclusion like that, because I do. Every other country, Italy, Switzerland, everybody, 4%, 4.25%. So that's something that I did. I just got curious and late at night. So I do think we should get more money back than 4%. Anyway, I was at a meeting on Friday that I wished it had been recorded by Channel 20, because it was interesting to find out that we are doing some really horrible things to our environment. This is what they threw at everybody. The guy was throwing them at the people at the meeting, saying, and then telling us that our cruise ships are dumping all their crap into the ocean 3 miles out. I'm worried about that. I don't want to swim in anybody's refuse in my ocean, our ocean, the ocean, because I think that's appalling. I think we all should be going after that really hard, that we don't want our kids swimming in poop out in the ocean. I think that's really horrible. So I hope somebody gets a thing, because people were kind of backing up from this when they were throwing it across the room at Treasure Coast Regional Planning Council. But we are, commissioners, you got a lot on your plate, but we are in so much flux. And it seems that everybody, whenever you go to anyone, it says, oh, COVID did this. No, it didn't. The bad people, all the stuff was all there. And all the things that are bothering us are still there. And we have a lot of things that we should, you as elected officials, I hope you start speaking out in defense of us, that the American people deserve a lot more than what they're getting right now. Because what I see is disheartening. I don't sleep at night because I'm reading 700 pages of your backup and seeing what's going on here in the county. And that's where we should be focused, this county. That's the best we can do. So hopefully you won't let anybody do this to us anymore, and you'll start looking at us real seriously. Thank you.
Thank you.
Last but not least, Drew Martin with the Palm Beach County, Martin County, and St. Lucie County Sierra Club chapter of the Sierra Club, the Loxahatchee Group. Thank you for waiting out all the speakers till the end. I appreciate that. Thank you for taking the time to listen to us. I appreciate the fact that you passed a resolution today honoring Earth Day. Thank you. And Dark Skies, appreciate that. I think it's really important on Dark Skies that we continue to monitor the light pollution, because it really does affect the baby sea turtles. And I do not use outside lights at night if I can avoid it. And people say it really does not actually increase the security of your home to have a lot of bright lights outside. It's also bad for your health and disrupts your sleep rhythm. So we really need to reduce night lighting as much as we can. On these large lights that are out on the playgrounds and stuff, the ball fields at night, we need to make sure they turn those off when the people exit. We don't need to run those all night. And we also do not need to have them pointing upwards. They need to point down towards the ground and not into the night sky. I want to mention Project Tango. I think even though this light industrial was approved, I do not think Project Tango is light industrial, and I don't think it would fit what was approved originally. And so I think you have an avenue to not move forward with it. I appreciate the fact that you have concerns, and I'm really glad that you do have concerns about it, and you're voicing those concerns. The last thing I want to mention is the incinerator plant. I think that there are a lot of things that could be done to improve our waste system, and I appreciate the fact that everybody appreciates the fact that garbage gets picked up, and I do appreciate that. But I have very little garbage because I compost, and I don't buy a lot of food if I'm not going to eat it. And I save the county and myself a lot of money by not producing a lot of garbage. I think it's very important that we compost. And restaurants, if we had commercial composting, which should be allowed, understand the county has an ordinance that is not allowing some composting in the county. I hope you will change that. we should be encouraging composting of food waste and yard waste, and that reduces the smell of garbage as well. So I'm out of time, and I'm sure you're out of patience having to listen to all of these people, but I hope that you gained some knowledge from what you heard today. Thank you.
Okay.
Madam Vice
Thank
Mayor?
you. I'm sorry.
We have some public comment that came in online, and also non-speaking cards that were filled out here that I'll we filed with the clerk.
Okay, and all those will be entered into the record. I did want to thank everyone who came today to speak to us. It matters by the public. This is our time to listen, and I was keeping notes. We had speakers 21 on Israel bond investments, 6 on Project Tango. We had Sunshine Safe Digging, North Lake Boulevard widening, property tax fraud and scams, environmental issues, including biosolids, I'll call them biosolids, dark skies, and the incinerator project. So all of those are officially entered into the record. We, as the Board of County Commissioners, will take that into account. Our clerk and comptroller, Caruso, did come in. He listens from a different floor, but wanted to come in and make a few statements to you as well. So we will not be taking questions, but he did want to address some of what was said.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I appreciate this public forum and that we have here today, and I appreciate those that came to speak out on all the different subjects. What I don't appreciate is the vague threats of stop this or there'll be consequences. That's not what we do here in this room. That being said, Florida statutes, let's start with the investments that Palm Beach County makes in Israel bonds is supported by the Florida statutes, and which specifically stipulate that Israel is the only sovereign entity outside of the United States itself that we have the ability and the right to invest in. We follow county guidelines. They set limitations, the commissioners do, and we follow those guidelines specifically. And we invest, our reasoning for investing is not, as you say, political. It's for pecuniary factors. Those factors being their investment quality, their short term, they provide a higher rate of return. I have the constitutional duty. Of the 1,000 constitutional duties I have as clerk of court and comptroller of Palm Beach County, I have a constitutional duty to maximize the rate of return on the investments that we have. And what Israel bonds allow me to do, I earn 102 basis points more than on any other investment that I have the authority to invest in. I can't go off and invest in German bonds or Italian bonds or any other bond out there. I don't have the right to do that. The Florida statutes specifically say I'm limited to, outside of the United States, the only sovereign entity being Israel. In fact, if I didn't invest in Israel bonds, we'd have another group of people here, okay, arguing that I failed to live up to my constitutional duty to maximize the rate of return on our investment portfolio. So, and I do not spend money. The clerk's office does not spend this money. This money's invested. And as a result of these investments in these bonds, we will earn $37 million more than any other investment. I'm speaking now, and you already spoke.
Clerk Caruso?
Almost done.
Okay.
Let me land it.
Okay, just so this is matters by the public for the Board of County Commissioners, and
Okay.
as a fellow elected officer, we are allowing him to come and speak to you, but I'd ask you please to just land this. This is not part of what we do
Okay.
here. You would need
Very
a
good.
different
I'll
forum
land
for
it.
this, okay?
I will land it.
No applause, please, but just land this, please.
Okay.
Thank you.
Just want them to want to make it clear that I'm not spending money. I don't have the option to invest in local projects like affordable housing or mental health or roads and bridges and education. Instead, I invested it to earn $37 million extra, which we can then invest in these local projects. And with that, I yield.
Thank you. And so thank you for that and everyone who came today. With that, we will be adjourned.